Welcome everybody. I think we've got enough people who've been able to log on, and we're going to get started essentially. So my name is Mythili. I'm here with David. We'll do introductions in a minute. Just quickly from a housekeeping perspective, we're on the Zoom webinar functionality, so you can't actually unmute or use your camera, but please do be interactive. We'd love you to basically use the Q&A function or chat function to ask questions at any time along the way. So please don't hesitate to do that. So I will just share my screen and we will get started. All right, so we're going to go through a little bit on who we are. So I promised introductions, why we created GivingInsight, what it actually is, and a demo. So that's what we're going to spend most of our time on. And we will leave some time at the end to do some Q&A. So who are we? So as I said, my name is Mythili Baker and I'm from Altus Consulting. So Altus are a privately owned data and analytics company. We've got offices in Sydney, Melbourne, Canberra, Auckland, and in London. And we provide exclusively data and analytics services. So that's all we do. We're vendor independent. So we work with the Microsofts, Tableaus, AWS's, Salesforce, anyone, but we don't build websites, we just provide data analytics solutions. And that's all the way from data engineering, back-end data work through to analytics, reporting, and machine learning, predictive analytics, the whole gamut. So I'm actually head of innovation at Altus, and as part of my role is about seeing the challenges that we face as a consulting company and trying to solve them in a systematic way and take new product offerings to market. And that's where the idea for an analytics solution on fundraising data came from. We had a lot of requests and we saw a lot of issues with our clients in trying to do this kind of reporting, so we thought we would tackle it. And that leads me to sort of say I'm a data person, and I'll go through the presentation, but we knew very much up front that we're not fundraisers, and we wanted to make sure what we were doing was best practice. So we partnered with David, and I'll let him introduce himself.
Hello everybody, David Pettigrew. I have a fundraising consultancy called Nourish NFP, and I do a lot of work across the fundraising space, strategy and operations and so on, but I've been doing regular giving for about 20 odd years now. And so a lot of the work I've done is building models and forecasting and analytics for clients over time. So it made a lot of sense to get together with Altus and develop what is effectively a web-based analytics and forecasting tool. So we're going to talk a bit about that today. But I'm kind of bringing the fundraising background to the data side.
Thanks, David. Look, very briefly, the story of why. As I said, we saw a lot of our customers having challenges with analytics in this space. And regular giving is where we decided to focus in a fundraising perspective because it's so critical to revenue. But it's only a start. We will be growing. It's so critical, but it's challenging also to analyze regular giving data. CRMs are not designed to do analytics on regular giving, though they're great on processing. You end up in Excel or expensive software, or you have to have a lot of time with consultants, and all of this is very time consuming. And specifically from a forecasting perspective, what we can tend to see is that there will be this really complicated Excel spreadsheet that someone's developed and nobody else can touch it. And if you inherit it or pass it on, someone makes it, or the consultant's developed and someone makes a small change and the whole spreadsheet's broken and nobody understands why the numbers we presented to the board last time were actually those, and you have to explain a variance, and there's just it's just not very straightforward or simple. So what is GivingInsight? It's really an online analytics service to plan and analyze your regular giving program. And so what we're going to demonstrate today is the ability to create short and long-term forecasts and easily reforecast your regular giving programs. It also provides analytics on your regular giving, so it connects to your CRM and provides data on all your key metrics such as attrition, declines, revenue, average gift, and it lets you then look at that data by different segments, whatever you have in your data set, so channel, campaign, supplier, appeal, payment type, whatever it might be. So that's in essence what it is, and I won't spend too much time talking. I'll try and get into the demo as quickly as possible. But in terms of the benefits, really, we've developed it in very close consultation with our early clients. So the aim was to deliver a very effective and easy to use solution. And the intention with the forecasting is that it's very transparent. There's no sort of secret business that we don't understand what's happening and why. You understand the drivers and how it works, and it allows easy forecasting and easy reforecasting. Overall, we find that it really frees up people's time to add more value, gives you very easy tracking and analysis of your programs, and really speeds up the reporting you have to do to management, the board, or any other stakeholders. And there's a quote there from Dane from the Kids Cancer Project. And if you go to our website, you'll actually see a few more quotes and a full case study with the Kids Cancer Project on how they're able to use GivingInsight. All right, so as I said, I wanted to spend most of the time in the demo and allow time for questions. And I'm even happy to do a forecast for anyone on the webinar that wants to go through on with me as well. So underneath you can see a sort of sample set of our customers, and I will essentially go now and share my screen to do the demo. So bear with me as I do that. So hopefully you can see my screen. David, can you let me know that this has popped up?
Yes, up and running.
Excellent, because it is important that you can see something before I do the demo. So I'm in the homepage for GivingInsight, the application. And firstly, look, it's a sample organization, so none of this data is real. But you can see here the two main aspects of GivingInsight. One is forecasting, one is analytics. So I'm going to go through the forecasting functionality now to hopefully give you guys some insights on the model we're using and how it might benefit you and what you might take away from this in terms of your own forecasting. If anyone is interested in the analytics model, we'll have my contact details sent out, and you can reach out to get it. I can do a quick demo of that as well. So I'm going to jump straight into the forecast, and you see here, this is where you can either view your forecast or create a new forecast. And you can see here, I've already created a forecast for a telemarketing channel with a supplier. But for the purpose of the demonstration, I'm going to actually create a new forecast from scratch so you can see how that works. And then I'll go through a few variations of that. So look, I know nobody's doing much face-to-face, but I'm actually going to go with that just for the sake of the demonstration. And I'll go through the process. So you pick your channel, pick your supplier. PFRA costs are currently set up for Australia, but we can easily extend that for the UK. So here on the right are the key input fields that you need to generate that regular giving forecast. So the most important thing is your expected average gift. So how much do you expect to receive from the donors you acquire? Your pre-debit fail is how many people do you expect to sign up but cancel before you've even tried to transact them. So what percentage does that look like for you? Cost per acquisition is really, how much you're paying for the acquisition of the donor, and then you can decide whether you want to include other costs in that cost per acquisition as well. So you can make that calculation how your organization runs and enter that total figure into here. Donor care cost is really, a cost per donor per month, maybe $2 or $3 for the ongoing care of that donor for retention. And transaction cost is the cost that you have to pay your banking institution and gateway provider. So those are optional. Some people like to budget for that in their regular giving program, and others don't. So for simplicity's sake, I'm going to leave them both as 0 for now. Decline rate is very important. What do you expect? What's your current decline rate? How should you expect your donors to sort of transact decline wise? Because that will definitely impact the revenue you receive. So I put in 12%. This might vary. You will know what your organization sits around. So starting forecast month, when am I going to kick off this acquisition campaign? Let's say April. And I'm going to say the name of this is version 1. It's face-to-face version 1. Right, so those are all the key input fields. The next section underneath is really your donor acquisition numbers. So how many donors are you intending to acquire? And year 1, you have to put something in year 1. Okay, so that's mandatory. But the subsequent years are only if you are intending on doing a long-term forecast. So you can type those in. You can copy and paste from Excel. You can copy and paste within the cell. And I'm just going to keep it simple at 100 donors being acquired per month. Underneath is your attrition numbers. So this is the, how many donors you think you're going to lose from a percentage perspective as your program continues. So these are some sample numbers. You can update these. I might say my first month is never that bad, and neither is my second or third. You can make these changes. You can, again, copy and paste from Excel, and I'll talk about a few more options with attrition as we go. But these are all the minimum inputs that you need to actually generate your forecast. So you click the button forecast and it will chug through and come back with this. So you'll see here from what you've entered, it has basically calculated that out in terms of applying the donors, applying the pre-debit fail and decline rates throughout, and derived that you will receive in 1.2 million in total revenue from this campaign, $420,000 expensive. And importantly, you can understand that you're going to break even in October 2023. So you can look at that graphically on a month-on-month profit perspective or accumulative. And you can kind of see, see that point that you're going to break even from negative to positive profit. And then most importantly, I think you can actually export all this data to Excel. So this really makes it very easy for you to play around with the numbers, for you to, copy and paste into your budgets, really drill into the details, look at those remaining donor numbers, get into the detail of it. And you can save as different versions. You can play around with these numbers. So this is quite important to be able to export your data to Excel. So that's the basic forecast. Now let me show you what you can kind of do with that. So if I go back to view forecast, you'll see here the forecast that I just created. And now that I've created one for that agency and channel, I don't need to rebuild that every single time. What I can essentially do is click modify and go back and make changes to this forecast. So let's just say I'm going to implement a, take the first payment on sign up policy, and I expect my pre-debit fail to be negligible, very, very low. Or potentially I'm going to improve my decline. Say, like, I'm really going to put this, policy in place where we're going to increase the number of attempts we do. We're going to make them strategic times of the week and month, and we're going to improve our declines by this much. Or say, I basically, run my program and the numbers aren't what I thought they were going to be. I need to do a reforecast and present that up front straight away. So that's a very common scenario for our customers. Basically, unexpected circumstances, a city goes into lockdown and your program halts, and you need to, quickly reforecast and understand the impact of that to your projections. So this is where you can really make those changes, and all you need to do is really, let's say this is my new best case scenario with the reforecast, and let's just say I'm not going to touch the attrition, but I can essentially submit this. And you'll see what the impact of those changes are. So now it's saying I'll break even in August 2023. My revenue's around about the same, 392K expenses. So, again, you can kind of look at that in a little bit more detail, export out to CSV and make more changes. So the other scenario, really what we talked about is that long-term forecasting. So if I again go back to the forecast I've created, what I can do now is say, look, okay, I've done this forecast for the next year, but the board wants to see a 4-year forecast now. Okay, so let me do my 4-year version of this. And in this case, what might be interesting is not to sort of worry about just typing it all in. Maybe I want to copy and paste from Excel. Maybe I want to save a set of scenarios, and let's just say I want to go back to my 100, and because I'm not being too original, I'm going to say 100 for most of my months, and maybe I'm planning on spending a bit more in this year, and I plan to acquire a bit more. So you can easily make whatever changes you want to this, create your different scenarios based on whatever suppliers or plans that you have. come back in here and paste, and you essentially have your donor acquisition numbers for the next 4 years. You know, you could also really do the same thing with your attrition, and I'll talk about at the end how you're able to use your actual attrition as well. But you know, really, you can paste that into Excel. You can, make whatever changes, plus or minus 1 everywhere, and then paste that back in as well. So that's very easy functionality. So that's all you need to do. And you can see here clearly here, like you can go up to a 10-year forecast. So, you know, some organizations need to report like that. And so we've got the functionality. Most go to up to 5 years, but, you know, there are some organizations that need to do that. And obviously things are changing so much that, you know, you don't know how far forward you can forecast, but sometimes you need to have a plan. David, do you want to add anything at this point? Sorry, I've probably gone right into it, conscious of time.
No, I think that's really good explanation, Mythili. I mean, one of the things that certainly clients are using it for is 2 kind of principal things at the moment. One is for their budget preparation for the year ahead. So you can effectively do your regular giving budget in this. And of course, as you can see from the demo, you can use it by a channel, you can do it by a supplier, so whether it's face-to-face, telemarketing, whatever it is you're using. And you can then compare those against each other. So you can do that for budgeting. And the second thing, which I see people doing quite a bit of, is using it for doing forecasts and business cases for the board. So if you want to go to the board and say you want another, £500,000, for example, here's where you're going to spend it, and here's the results, here's the ROI, and all the other stuff that the board would expect to see. So I think from those 2 things, I think those are the kind of 2 key areas that people are using it is budget and long-term forecasting.
Yeah, thank you, David. And you brought up my last scenario, combining forecast, or my second to last scenario. So as David mentioned, you know, you can combine forecasts. So say you want to, do multiple suppliers and channels and bring them all together, or you can really, what you do is you click add to collection. So I'll add my face-to-face and I'll add my telemarketing and click view collection. And that's really going to combine those 2 forecasts that you just created, so you can understand what the combined total revenue would look like, break-even point and expenses. You can look at the month-on-month and accumulated profit again. And if you wanted to use this functionality, you could also compare. So if you're not combining, you might be trying to compare your channels or suppliers, or compare a best case versus worst case, whatever that might be. And you can, again, export all that data, combine data to CSV to play around with, plug into your budget, as David said. So you've got all that functionality. So the last couple of things I did want to show really is, so this is all about the forecast. As I said before, we also have an analytics function, and that will take another half an hour to go through. So if you're interested, please do get in touch, and we're happy to do a quick demo for you. But this is really, the analysis of your current program, and you can see here there's quite a few different views. It goes from your KPI, your attrition perspective, what's happening over time, a data quality view, your best donors, decline management, and your best donor segments. But what I wanted to particularly show you is using the analytics functionality. You could also, you might be able to say, look, I know the performance of one of my suppliers. So you can essentially copy their attrition, and you could paste it directly into the forecast, or you could paste it into your Excel and put it for your scenario for that supplier. And then you can essentially paste that into your forecast. So you could do very accurate forecasts using your actual attrition if you use this functionality as well. And probably the last part as well, if we do have your actual data in here as well as not just using the forecast, what we also do is take your actual historical data and create a prediction. And so this uses a machine learning algorithm that essentially works out your attrition curve and then applies that to where what cohort month someone's in. So, what's your average attrition for month 24? When someone comes into month 24, when a cohort comes into that, you apply that attrition. So really this gives you a good prediction of your existing donor base, how many are going to stay with you, and your average revenue. So you can include that in a very comprehensive forecast back to the board. So I think that's also another feature. If we have your actual data, we can use that to essentially generate the machine learning model, which creates this predictive forecast. David, do you want to add anything to this?
Yeah, I just think just to say on this particular piece that this calculation of trying to work out how your existing donors are going to behave in the future is always a kind of really labor-intensive piece of work. You've got to extract data out of your database normally, put it in Excel, and can take a huge amount of time to do. But with this, basically, with machine learning, it's very easy to see very quickly what the results look like.
Thank you. So I'm gonna stop there. As I said before, if anyone wants me to go through a forecast with their data, I'm very happy to do that. Just pop that into the chat, or let me know, and I can take you off mute, and you can do that. Or you can follow up with me afterwards. I'm very happy to do that. We did have a last slide of Q&A to sort of finish up on, which I'll open up, and then we can see if anyone has any questions. Right, so here are some of the common questions that we get. How do I implement this? So to access the forecasting part of this tool, you need no setup at all. We can set you up straight away. To access the analytics part, we need to obviously access your data. We have an automatic connection to Razor's Edge NXT and Salesforce CRM, so we can load your data overnight via API. We can also load from spreadsheets from other CRMs, and if you have an API connection with your CRM, we will be able to set that up. There's no limit to the number of users you can have in an organization. In terms of cost, the overall cost for the analytics and forecasting is £4,500 annually, and to just access the forecasting only is £2,000 annually, so that's per year. As I said before, it's just for regular givers at the moment, but we are planning on extending to cash donors starting in July this year, and then we will take it further from that. We've also very recently released an ad hoc functionality that integrates with Power BI. So there is definitely a lot of work being done to this at the moment, and continues ongoing. And we just onboarded the customer this week, and we were on the call with them before this. They're based in the UK, and they're just saying the tool's amazing, very intuitive, and it's going to help them take their regular giving to the next level. So we definitely have tried to design it to make your lives easier and for you to get the outcomes that you're looking for. So let's see if we have any other questions. I'll have a look at the chat now. So it doesn't look like anyone has any questions. We will definitely be emailing out this whole presentation to you, plus the whole webinar and any in our details. So if you do have any questions, want to go through a forecast with us with your data, very happy to do so. David, do you have anything else to add before we maybe wrap up?
No, nothing more from me. But if anybody's got a last minute question, there's one just popped in from Louise. Can you directly compare your forecasted results with actuals?
Yeah, you can if you have both components. You basically, there is a calendar view which shows you what you're doing over time, and you can compare it to your forecast. Because the forecast is unspecified time, you don't put the two on the same graph, but you can very easily compare them because actuals is actual and forecast changes. But yes.
And don't forget, you can pull the data out of this, and you can do them side by side as well. Just
at a point in time. Yes. Yeah.
Excel.
Yeah.
Anybody else got anything else they'd like to ask or explore on this one? Okay.
Looks like that might be it. So thank you very much for attending, and we, as I said before, we'll send out the details, and if you need any help with this process or have any questions afterwards, don't hesitate to get in touch. All right. Bye all.
Thanks. Bye-bye.